Old High German pronunciation, short vowels. So the following is from an Old High German primer by Joseph Wright and an introduction to the study of Old High German by Lionel Armitage. Okay, the links to these textbooks are in the description below, where you can check them out and read them for yourself and just be good for Old High German learning. All right. So it's important to bear in mind that not all scholars agree on the same pronunciation for Old High German, or for that matter, for any historical language. There's a lot of mental speculation and, well, also coming from different viewpoints, from different approaches. For example, Joseph Wright, him having a background with Old English, especially for the vowel system, he sort of makes this assumption that Old High German vowels would be more or less the same as Old English, as well as he's taking into consideration Proto-Germanic and also the German that was spoken of his time. That's the thing. And as for Lionel Armitage, he takes from not only from Proto-Germanic, from his approach, as well as like today's German, as well as like German dialects of the time as well. I mean, these approaches, it's not whether one's right and the other's wrong. It's just different approaches to the same thing. Because you could argue that, yeah, if you go far back enough, Old High German and Old English, if you go far back enough, yeah, they were the same language. And it's very possible that you would have people back then, some people back then, retaining older features while at the same time using more recent features in the same way how people speak today, having older features and next to modern features at the same time. Yeah, so it's different approaches. So the way people spoke back then would be variegated in the same way that it's very variegated now. To what degree would depend on the speaker and where they are and what time and place in history. All right, so I just want to say that. So yeah, Lionel Armitage, he goes on essentially today's dialects of his time, as well as having an emphasis on Proto-Germanic. Joseph Wright, same thing, but again, he has some assumptions from his Old English background. Anyway, let's move on. So here we have the vowels, short vowels in Old High German, and they goes as follows. We have A, E, I, O, and U. However, with E, as you see there with the E with the umlaut there with the two dots, you'd see this in older textbooks regarding Old High German, or if you will, in some other old Germanic languages, and this is used to represent Proto-Germanic E proper, so to speak. It to show that heritage, if you will, and the reason for this, sometimes you'd see it with the umlaut, sometimes without, and this is put forth to contrast between an E that came about through I mutation, or if you will, I umlaut. So, for example, in English, you would have foot, and its plural would be feet. And so that feet, if you will, would be an E through I mutation, if you will, or I umlaut. So I hope that makes sense for that. As well, for I, we have Y there. Y is just another way of representing I. The sound is still the same. It's just this is sort of a rare occurrence, and it occurs in loan words. Okay, moving on. A, as in German, Mann, by Joseph Wright. IPA is ah. As for Armitage, he says the same thing of German Mann and hat. So that's short A. Moving on. So we have a few examples here of haben, to have. Can, he knows how to. Man. Short E is quite interesting because it has two sounds. So for Joseph Wright, number one here, that as in English, bed, so so bed. So and we have the IPA there. We have an example here of helfan, to help. Secondly, for Joseph Wright, we have E, short E, as in French, été. So, and we have an example here in Old High German of Gästi, meaning guests. Moving right on. Short E, according to Lionel Armitage, number one, as open E, so as in German, essen, fit, so it's an E sound, E. So, we have nehmen, to take. We have essan, meaning to eat. Very straightforward. Next, we have short E again, but as a closed E. So, interestingly enough, Lionel Armitage brings up an example. Well, he describes it as in like South German besser, potentially. If I'm assuming that the first E in that word is the E that he was going for, and we see this in Old High German words of heffen, to raise, heri, army. So for Joseph Wright and Lionel Armitage, their pronunciation approaches, if you will, are more or less the same. So we have the first one being just and then we have the second one here being E. So yeah, so pretty straightforward. Moving right on, which is really cool for short I. For Joseph Wright, it's just as English it, so it's an E sound. So very straightforward as an it. And for Armitage, he gives the example of German finden, which is really nice. It's just a simple E sound. So here are a few examples with short I. We have bilidi, meaning form, image, example, depending on the context. Findan, to find. And wissan, to know. Let's move right on. So, short O for Joseph Wright is at his English not. So, not. So here are a few examples with Joseph Wright's short O. Geboren, born. Gott, God. As for Lionel Armitage, he describes the short O as an open O, as in German, Gott. So sort of oh. So we have here a few examples from Lionel Armitage's pronunciation of short O, such as geboren, born. Gott, God. Short U in Old High German, as in English, full from Joseph Wright. So it's kind of so it's a sound as like f, it's like if you will, sort of. And we have the IPA there. As well from Armitage, from Lionel Armitage, he would describe it as the German Bund, if you will, and with the same sound, if you will, of this of the IPA, as in, well, that would correspond to the English full from Joseph Wright. So moving on. So we have a few examples here. So we have here gebuntan, or if you will, a dialectal variant or a sound change, if you will, of gebundan, gebundan, meaning bound. And next we have gemund, meaning memory. All right. And that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and be sure to subscribe if you're new. And if you really like the channel, please become a patron at my Patreon page down below. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.